Hi everyone, PV here, and welcome to my new YouTube video. In this week's video, we're going to do something slightly different for this channel. We're going to do a live gameplay video. Well, recorded but live, right? It's still a video, it's not live, but it is a recorded video of a live gameplay, which means that I'm going to pick a deck and join a match on Magic Arena, and then talk about things as they happen. So I'll talk about the lines of play, the things that I'm thinking about, and I believe my opponent is thinking about that you should be cognizant of at any given time. The deck that I'm choosing for this video is the deck that I consider to be the best deck in Standard, Sultai Ultimatum. And I've already done a lot of stuff with this deck, right? I've written about it, I've done a video on how to play it, I've played numerous tournaments with it, NPL and the new PTs, the championships. I've played this deck in several of those to a reasonable degree of success. So I have a lot of experience with this deck. And I think that even though it hasn't gained many new cards, you see some other decks like Izzet or Mono Green, they have a lot of new tools. This deck doesn't have any new tools, but it's still as powerful as it was before, because at its core, it's still more powerful than what anyone else is doing. So you have this control deck that is capable of, controlling the game, grinding people out, that also has this I win button. So it's sort of a combo control deck, except that the combo is just on card, it's just Emergent Ultimatum. I also happen to think that this deck is particularly well positioned, because if you look at the decks that did emerge, again, Mono Green, there's no Gruul deck with Magda, Naya Winota, right? These are all decks that I believe are good matchups for you. So this is the deck that I would play in a tournament right now, and in fact, this is probably the deck that I'm playing at the Arena Open, right? That is this weekend. Not probably the deck, this is definitely the deck that I'm playing. This is probably the build of the deck that I'm playing. And you might see that this build is a little bit different than normal. It does gain one new card. That new card is Power Word Kill. So I believe that is an improvement over Eliminate, because it kills Asuka's Chariot, it kills opposing Gargaroths and Yorions and Vorinclaxes, and most importantly, it kills Winota. So that is the big reason why I have Power Word Kill over Eliminate. And the card that it doesn't kill is Faceless Haven. So it is worse versus Faceless Haven decks, such as Mono Red aggro, for example. It does kill Torbrand, so that's good, but it doesn't kill Faceless Haven. That is a big cost, but it kills all the other creature lands, the new ones. And I think it's worth it just to be able to kill Winota. So I have Power Word Kill instead of Eliminate. And then I have two Pestilent Hazes, which are not new, but are a card that you don't normally see in this Sultai decks, right? It has been played before. I wasn't the person to come up with it. It was played in the MPL. But I believe that it's a card that has gained a lot with the new developments of the metagame. Because it used to be that Gruul decks were beefy decks, right? They had bigger creatures, they had mammoths and giants and beasts, and stuff like that, and questing beast, and cards like that. And -2/-2 to everything was often not enough to kill what you wanted to kill. And it used to be also that the Winota decks, they weren't very popular, and the ones that did exist were more Boros-ish. They had Bone Crusher Giants, so stuff that survived the -2/-2. Nowadays, the Gruul decks are much more to the ground, right? They're a much more of a go wide variety as opposed to go tall. So they're not trying to get one mammoth and make it a 7/7 and put Embercleave on it, right? Or a Brushfire Elemental or something like that. They're trying to get Sentinels and Magdas and 2/2 tokens from Chariot and 3/1 Dwarves and just make a bunch of stuff happen. So they are they're go wide instead of go tall. So -2/-2 to everything is very good. And then the Winota decks are also quite vulnerable to this card, because it deals with Selfless Savior, it deals with Elite Spellbinder, it deals with, if they play Magda or Lotus Cobra, Sentinel, it deals with all of that, Prosperous Innkeeper. So even though it doesn't kill Winota itself, it kills everything else in the deck. So I think this card is very well positioned right now, and I'm choosing to play 2 copies of it, in addition to Extinction Event and Shadow's Verdict. So I cut one Shadow's Verdict, because I don't want 6 sweepers. But I think Pestilent Haze is pretty well positioned right now. And you'll see that in the sideboard I also have 2 Carvex, which is a card that is good in similar spots. The other major difference that you might see in the main deck is 4 copies of Elder Gargaroth. So Elder Gargaroth is a card that you often see in Sultai decks nowadays. It is, I would say, decks with Gargaroth are more common than decks without. But you see 2 or at most 3 copies. So you never see 4. And the reason I'm playing 4 copies in the main deck is because I believe that right now it is a better main deck card than a sideboard card. Because if you look at what decks exist, there aren't a lot of removal spells in the main deck that can kill Elder Gargaroth. So the Winota decks, for example, they don't play Giant Killer. for the most part, right? The Gruul decks, they don't play ways to kill Gargaroth in the main. In the sideboard, they'll always have ways to kill it, right? The red decks will all have Burning Hands, so that's 6 damage that kills Gargaroth. The white decks might have Giant Killers as well. The Chrome War is a card that people often have against you. So whether it be a mono red deck, or a Nizet deck, or a Naya deck, or a Gruul deck, these are all decks that can answer Gargaroth pretty well after sideboard, but that actually cannot answer it in game 1. So that's an inversion of what we normally see. Because normally these decks want creatures in the sideboard, right? Because the goal is that your opponent has dead removal in game 1, they take it out, you bring the creature. Now it's the opposite. Now they will have removal post-sideboard, they don't have it in the main deck, because the decks are all super streamlined. So they don't have room for removal that kills out a Gargaroth. So you just play a Gargaroth and you try to win from that. And then there's the sideboard. The sideboard is pretty conventional, I would say. There's no Gargaroth. Obviously, they're all in the main deck. But there are 2 Carvax. I think for the same reason that I'm playing Pestilent Haze and for Gargaroth's main, right, I expect a more aggro field. So Carvac is quite good versus all of the Magdas and 3/1s and all the Winota creatures. So this card is really, really strong. And this one does dodge removal post-sideboard, right? It's unlike the Gargaroth because it does die to Bonecrusher Giant and Skyclave Apparition, and these are 2 cards that are commonly taken out against you. So it is one of those cards that is better post-board than I think it is in the main deck. Though it would still be good in the main deck if the field was like super good for it. So I wouldn't hate to play it in the main deck, but I think Haze is better in the main, and then Carvac in the sideboard. So, let's get to the match. The plan here is to do 1 match, but if it turns out that I die very quickly, I'm not going to win very quickly because I'm playing a slow deck, but if I die in 2 minutes, so we'll get to another match. The plan is to do 1. And you'll notice that I'm pretty low ranked right now. This is because I haven't been playing as much because I got to skip I finished 2nd in the year in the MPL, which meant I got to skip the last MPL weekend, and I don't get to play the Gauntlet in a month, so there's not a whole lot of reason for me to be testing. And most of our testing before that was done person to person, like 1v1, right? So I haven't played much ladder lately, but I do still play to write and do videos. So here, this hand is a hand that is quite okay versus an aggro deck, especially if Pestilent Haze is good, right? Because I have a natural curve, 3, 4, 5, that can be quite strong. Obviously, I don't know what my opponent is playing, but I do have one strong indicator that they have not revealed Yorion, right? And then when they don't reveal Yorion, I usually assume they're an aggro deck, which is not necessarily true. They could be, an easy deck or something, but I think chances are that they are an aggro deck when they don't reveal Yorion. That's how I behave, at least. Obviously, they could be playing an aggro deck where Pestilent Haze is not actually good against, so they just play a bunch of 3/3s. But the reason I'm playing this card in my deck is because I believe it is good versus most aggro decks that are played. So, I think, if I wasn't going to keep this because I don't think it's good versus the aggro decks in the format, then, well, I probably shouldn't be playing it anyway. And yeah, I guess the green deck, mono green, this card is, I think of all the aggro decks, this is probably the one this is the worst against. Because it doesn't kill the wolf, mainly. It does kill the ranger token if I'm on the play. Right, if I'm on the draw and they play a ranger token after that, and then they can pump and attack and I can't kill it. So this is a spot where I'd much rather have a spot remove over here, but, you do what you can. Here, I'm probably just going to play this as a land. I don't foresee playing, actually hard casting a Seagaze Restoration very much. And here we're hoping for, no Gem Raiser. Right, a Gem Raiser will let the Werewolf Pack Leader trigger. Oh, that's good. So hopefully, another Serpent would be the dream, right? Or, Scavenging Ooze or anything that dies to the Pestilent Haze. Oh, Gem Raiser is another reason that Power Word Kill is better than Eliminate, because Gem Raiser costs 4, so you can't Power Word Kill it. But you can't eliminate it, but you can Power Word Kill it. Here, I am honestly probably just going to kill the Stormcoil Serpent. I think I'm not going to get a lot more value out of this, and it does stop Gem Raiser shenanigans from happening, because, they have to then put it on the pack leader, which is not nearly as good. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and try to kill it. I don't foresee getting a lot more value from this. I don't think they're just going to play a 4-drop that will die to my Pestilent Haze. Right, they had the chance to play a small creature last turn, and they didn't. So I'm comfortable with this development here, and then You know, then we'll see where things go, but I think this is the best that I'm gonna get from this card. Like, this is not the matchup for this card. Well, as I say this... Oh, they don't have a land. Okay, so that was really good for me. Because now I have two options. I can play Pelukrinus, and hopefully that will just stop them dead on their tracks. But if they have the Might card, Primal Might, they still don't kill this. Like, they do kill it with a land, but then their pack leader dies anyway. So I think playing Pelukrinus is actually safe here. Like, I could play Binding and kill the pack leader instead, and then play the Gargaroth. Or I could just play the Pelukrinus. I think I'm just gonna play the Pelukrinus here. I think playing Pelukrinus is gonna accomplish probably everything that I need. Here, I should probably have played a Fabled Passage because I don't really want another land. So when you want to draw lands, you leave lands in your deck, right? I don't want to draw lands, and I scry nothing to the bottom. So... yeah, I think playing the Pelukrinus here is slightly better than playing the Binding. Well, we'll see. They could also just, like, play 2 Rem-Throughs or something. So now I have 2 options. Ooh, now I have an extra option. But I think this option is bad. So my 2 options are Elder Gargaroth plus Elder Gargaroth, period, or Wolfwillow Haven plus Binding. I lean towards Haven plus Binding. I would like to be able to recur the Yorion with this Binding, though. To, like, be able to combo these 2 cards. My fear is that if I played the Gargaroth here, they could just kill it with the Primal Might and the Lustric Beast, right? Now they actually have a big creature, and then they can attack with it. And what do I do? Right, do I block? That's a bit awkward, right? Because if I block, my creature's just gonna die. And theirs will die too, but I'll be losing my 2 creatures. Or I'll be taking, 7 or 8 damage, which is not advisable. So I'm gonna have 5, 6, 7 mana. Yeah, it's not enough. I do think I want to play Fabled Passage and probably get a blue at this point. So this is happening no matter what. So I have a timeout. I can think about this. So I block. If they play Primal Might, I can block, trade. Or I block the wolf if they attack with everything and I take a lot. I could also just use Pelukrinus to kill the human, so they can't attack at all. I think I'm just gonna play the Binding. It's fine if I don't get, like, super value from this Yorion. I don't need this much value. I could have played the Extinction Event instead of the Binding, actually, now that I think about it. What is that? I'm gonna block. I got a Giant Growth or something. Yeah, my Yorion will be able to rebuy this down the line. Yeah, now I get to play the Gargaroth. Oh, I even have another one. When I get the red mana. So yeah, now I played this, and, if they do draw land... So I have green, I have 2 blue already, so I'm gonna play green. If they do draw land, they can Primal Might the pack leader and trade for my Gargaroth, but, like, it's still a 2-for-1 in my favor. Right, and obviously I wish they wouldn't do that. I would rather have my Gargaroth in play, but still puts me in a pretty good position, I feel. Especially with all my Pelukrinuses and Yorions. I do have to draw some action. Right, ironically... Oh, they chose to kill this. Okay, they want to draw a card very badly. I mean, I'm gonna let that happen. Like, I can gain 3 life if I really want to. So now I think I just play Pelukrinus and pass. Well, attack, obviously, but, like, I don't think I want to use my mana. Do I want to gain life, draw a card, and make a 3/3? I think making a 3/3 is probably the best. Like, they have a Faceless Haven and a Pack Leader. Yeah, now I can just play Polukranos and pass with 3 mana up, and I can activate Polukranos if I really want to. Like, I think being able to activate Polukranos is better than returning Yorion. Especially because I already have 8 mana, so I can return Yorion. So here I could maybe respond. Because if I don't respond... Well, it's only combat damage. Okay, so I can let this happen. I think I should just kill it. So this is only combat damage can't be prevented, right? So if I fight, that's fine. So I'm gonna block just to make sure. Then I'm gonna fight it. And my Polukranos won't die to the Death Touch. Should I gain 3? Just to be sure? I mean, I don't know what can really go wrong at this point, but... I feel like they are super dead. It doesn't really matter what I do, so... Yeah, I should probably realistically have made a 3/3 here, but again, it doesn't really matter what they do. So it's a spot where I don't really want to think much about it. It seems extremely unlikely that I will lose, but... Okay, now it seems impossible that I will lose. Okay, so sideboarding. I definitely want Power Word Kill. Do I want anything else? My sideboarding is not really super well constructed for mono green specifically. Because, you know, the Karvak is not that good versus them. It's still good, I think. It's still a creature that's going to shrink their creatures. I don't want Dispute. I think that's the one card that I'm pretty sure I don't want. And I don't think I want this Vorinclex either. I don't think I need it. So I would rather have stuff that, you know, saves me from the early game. So yeah, my sideboarding, here's something that, you know, if I had done my due diligence and expected a lot of mono green, I should have constructed my sideboard better. I think my sideboard is suboptimal versus mono green, especially on the draw, right? On the draw, the Pestilent Haze is not that good. Elspeth's Nightmare is not good either. Whereas on the play, this cards can be okay at least. Coma is reasonable. I think it's much better than Vorinclex, but I don't want another super expensive card. I think I'm just going to try the Karvax here in this matchup. Again, they're not good, but they do kill, you know, the 1/1 tokens from Electric Beast. They do kill 1/1 Serpents. They block Wolf. So I think they're mostly okay. Even though costing double black is a pretty big cost. But everything else in my deck is pretty bad, I think. So I think that probably is it a Karvak or Coma? Coma is pretty unbeatable, right? It's really hard to lose if that card's in play. I don't like Maze My Stone versus Aggro decks very much. It's pretty hard to lose if that card is in play, but it does cost 7. I already have a lot of cards that are pretty hard to lose with. So maybe on the play, I can play Coma. On the draw, I have to settle for this. This hand, it's super awkward. I would really like an acceleration spell. I think it's still a keep though, because I can go Omen or Disruption, depending on what they do. It should be, like, it's not good, because I don't have any removal spell or anything, but I do think I should keep these. They don't have a lot of 3s, but they do have Mammoth, and I know they don't have Lustric Beast, because they would have used the Lustric Beast on turn 1, right? But still, like, they have Mammoth, they could draw the Lustric Beast, they could play a 3/3 Suncoil Serpent. So I think I want to keep this Disruption here. I'm gonna play this in blue, because if I draw a black card, then I have the chance to play this and play both. Right, play either. Like if I drew Heartless Act here, like I would have the chance to play Omen or Disruption or Heartless Act. There's also the chance that they don't have a third land, or they have a land that comes to play tapped, and to try to play a 2-drop, I can counter that, right? Then if, you know, things go wrong, I can just play this on turn 3. If I want. Yeah, so now I got to kill this, which I think is pretty good. It stops them from drawing a card next turn unless they have Questing Beast. So normally I would play Omen here and try to find a tapped land. Is that what I'm gonna do anyway? Probably. Because like if I do find a tapped land, yeah, I'm just gonna play this. I think there's not a lot of downside. Well, definitely don't want Haven. I probably do want Fabled Passage. So yeah, now hopefully they don't have Questing Beast, because then they would draw a card. That would be very awkward. Well, they do. So now I have a choice on what to kill, right? Like, I'm obviously playing Binding. I think I have to kill the Questing Beast, because I have to hope that the Gargaroth is enough. If they have another Questing Beast, it's pretty bad for me, right? Because I just killed their Legendary. But I think I have to do this. Wait, what? They could have pumped this. They didn't. Now I'm probably gonna get a black Triome. I feel like I might want this black mana. I did draw the... Yeah, maybe I should have gone the red one. But so what are they doing? They could have pumped it. They chose not to. Why not? What do they have? I honestly don't know. So this is something that you should always be thinking about, right? What can they have? But sometimes you're like, well, okay. If this lives, I'm in pretty good shape. If they just, you know, Primal Mighted and kill me, then that's worse. Yeah, so let's see what they have, right? Maybe they had nothing and made a mistake. That seems unlikely. They have to have something. They could have, you know, it has to cost more than 2, or more than 1, rather. So, like, if they have Snakeskin Veil, for example, that's not enough. They still should have just activated this, right? So I'm dead to Primal Might, which is a very likely card for them to have. Huh, guess not. Okay, that was pretty good. So I think I'm going to attack, make a 3/3, and then I can ultimate. I have green, green, blue, blue, blue. So I need any known blue land here. So do I want to play Ultimatum first? Because then I can get Time Walk, I can get Shadows Ready or Extinction Event, kill the 2 things. And I can get Valki. I can also get another Gargaroth. So I can get Time Walk, Valki, another Gargaroth. That seems pretty good. Yeah, I'm just gonna attack first. I'll make a 3/3. Yeah, I'm not sure what I can really do here. Okay, I could even play the Kiora. But I think this is safer. They can't give me Time Walk. If they give me Time Walk, they lose. Right, so I guess... This seems like it's going to be good enough. And then I can Valky one of the wolves, so they don't draw 100 cards. Obviously, if I had the Kiora in my deck, I would probably get it. Maybe it would have been better to get the Shadows Verdict here. So, like, I would have a Shadows Verdict instead of this Tybalt. Which probably, yeah, probably would have been better. Like either Extinction Event or Shadow's Verdict. Okay. Yeah, it definitely would have been better. This is, again, me getting a little complacent. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. They are going to draw 2 cards, though. That is annoying. And if they morphed this in Primal Might... Yeah, they could. Yeah, I definitely should have just gotten Verdict. I got complacent, I think. Because, like, I know they can never give me the Time Lock, so they have to give me Verdict and not a Gargaroth. And how do I lose from that point? Though, how do I lose from here? It's going to be pretty hard to lose from here. But they're going to draw a lot of stuff. Like, they can't even attack with this, or it's blocked with my 3/3. Like, this doesn't trample. So now I could kill this, or I could plus. I think I actually like killing it. So I kill it. No, sorry, I can't kill it. I'm stupid. It's only at 2. So I have to plus. So I might as well plus first.
Sure, you can handle a little pain.
Life for a 3/3. I guess 3/3 is just gonna be better. So yeah, I'm paying for my mistake here. My mistake was not sweeping the board, instead getting Valki, which I think was worse. But still super unlikely to matter. Yeah. So yeah, I think this game, you know, obviously I was in a dominant position, I think, from that point. Right? So you see, I'm pretty low ranked here, but also our opponent was just playing a real deck. Right? So it's not like we queued into, you know, mono black goblins or something. So our opponents actually played a legit deck, and they actually played okay. So, other than not pumping that turn, because that was weird, so I should have been at 2 less life. So, basically, yeah, I think the part of the lesson there is that, yes, this is part of the reason why this deck is good, right? It just goes over the top of this stuff, and Gargaroth is such a pain for this deck to deal with. You know, we saw that I played Gargaroth both games and it just didn't have an answer. And that was it. Right? That was enough to win the game, basically. I had an ultimatum, but I would argue that I didn't really need the ultimatum. I was already going to win with the Kiora another turn, or even with just the Yorion. Right? So the creatures are very good in those spots. And yeah, I think, you know, one lesson that is important is, I think it was interesting in the early game, whether you should play, in game 1 especially, whether you should play like the Pelukrinos or the removal spells, and also what to get with the ultimatum. I think I didn't think things through as much, right? I really should just have gotten the sweeper there. It doesn't cost me anything. I know I'll end up with sweeper plus Gargaroth, right? So I know that it's going to be great for me no matter what. But this is one of those spots where I was like, you know, whatever happens, I'm fine. Which you definitely shouldn't get to. You know, it's kind of like, do what I say, don't do as I do. But we have a saying. I don't know if it's a saying in English. In Portuguese, it's a saying. Do as I say, don't do as I do. So pay attention to this kind of stuff. Don't get complacent when you think you're winning. But also, I was, at this point, in both games, in such a dominant position that I think it really didn't matter very much. So yeah, anyway, you know, this is what I believe is the best decking standard. You know, you have this one match to prove it. With no doubt, this is the best deck. Yeah, but just, jokes aside, I do think Standard is a pretty balanced format. So almost any of the good decks is playable, right? If you want to play, you know, Mono Green or Gruul or Izzet or Cycling or Sultai or Rogues, like everything is fine. So just play whatever you're more comfortable with. But I do think Sultai is, for me, it's the best. I think it is the best deck. So it will probably remain the best deck until the rotation. So, if you like my videos and want to support my work a little bit more, make sure to check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/PVDDR, and there you can support my work and get some extra perks on top of it. And special thank you to my biggest supporters, Adam Racy, Adrian Camilleri, Daniel Luz, Foxy, Fernando Vizeu, Geoffrey Whitehead, Harlequin the King, Igor Petrov, Joey, Calvin Peng, Kevin Massey, Lawson, Mattia Giardini, Richard Gurgis, Sylvia Leticia, TJ Webb, Thomas Pokorny, and Dimitri. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you next week.